Rutherford Issues with Bryan Barrett on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Rutherford Issues is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. United Communications, part of the MTE family, provides award-winning fiber internet and phone service across Middle Tennessee. Visit mte.com/internet to learn more. It's time to speak with James Price of the Better Business Bureau here this morning. And Mr. Price, I would say good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How you doing, Brian?
Good. Doing good. I like that guitar hanging up back there. What kind of guitar is that?
The Taylor.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's
right next to the Les Paul, you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Everybody that knows guitars, and those who don't have no clue. But I do know Les Paul. But anyway.
Yeah.
So today, of course, James with the Better Business Bureau. Is this summer a busy time at the BBB in terms of, I guess it's always busy with so many businesses are moving in and out of Middle Tennessee and calling it home, huh?
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's crazy busy here. And of course, we have, people looking for contractors. We have people who have called up and wanting to know if, they're getting scammed. I had somebody call me last week and said, hey, I want to know if this is a scam. Publishers Clearinghouse just called me and said they're on the way over here with my check. And I just needed to have the $500 to give them to give them in exchange for the check. I need to know if this is a scam. And I went, okay, yeah, it would be. The other thing that people I don't know, I guess people don't realize is that Publishers Clearinghouse does not, when they're going to give you a check, they don't call you ahead of time and tell you. They want that surprise when you open the door. Yeah, here's your big check. And of course, nobody who's giving you a prize, if they expect you to pay something, is legit. So if you have to pay for a prize, then you're dealing with a fraudster.
Yeah, I got one at 7:08 this morning that said, immediate security, your B of A debit card disabled due to fraud suspicion. Call fraud department, and then there's a phone number. So
let me guess, you don't even bank there.
No. And what do you think Bank of America abbreviates in the B of A, But yeah, no.
Right. I got this one from a hospital that says, hey, your balance is due. You need to call this number and pay the $230. I've never even been to this hospital or even in a medical facility in that county.
Yeah.
And they're saying I owe them money. It's like, no.
I thought about calling this phone number here just to, not on my cell phone, but just call this number and, record them and see what happened. But
right.
Maybe that if I feel squirrely this afternoon. But all of that going on, scams out there. And, if you're looking at some type of home project or remodel, things of that nature, it's sometimes hard to really know where to go. And you're going to actually share some tips today to help us find a reliable and trustworthy general contractor.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things I'll start out by saying is that it doesn't matter if you go to BBB or not. If you know who the contractor is and you've known them for a while and you trust them and you know that they've done good work. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's somebody you went to school with or somebody's at your church or something like that. If you know this person's legit, then, move forward. I would be a little bit cautious because there are people who do good work, but do they have the proper licensing and that kind of thing and insurance? So even if you know somebody and you trust them and that kind of stuff, when they get ready to work on your home, say, hey, Bob, I know you really well, but I need to make sure that I see your license and your insurance before we get started. In case something does happen, I don't want anything to fall on your head, because you'd be liable if something happened and you didn't have the insurance. So let's just make sure that we cross our T's and dot our I's. so that when we move forward down the road, that we don't have any issues if something does go wrong. And with any business, the thing you do is you prepare for the worst and then you pray that it doesn't happen, and or hope for the best or whatever.
Yeah.
But the bottom line here is that if you don't think about the things that could go wrong, then possibly things could. So yeah, you want a general contractor that you can trust, a company or person that's vetted to do the job for you. They're ethical and responsible. They have contractor skills. They have specific focus areas, like whether it's plumbing or painting or um, electrical. I mean, there's some people out there who they're general contractors, or they're a contractor for plumbing, but they don't do the electrical part. And you want to make sure that you're getting the right people for the right job. So the number one thing to do is do your research, make sure you properly plan it out. Use BBB's business directory as part of the process. Um, Look up the business, and hopefully they're accredited, but if they're not, at least you know that they're on there, and then look for any kind of reviews or complaints that a company would have. um uh and of course, this resource is free. Everybody can use it. Just all you have to do is go to bbb.org, and you can look up any business. If they're not listed, well, then you just have more research to do. If they're not accredited, then you have a little more research to do. But if they're accredited, you know that BBB has made sure that they're insurance and licensed and they have all the proper information. Now it's easier for you to kind of move forward. And then if there's any reviews or complaints, look at it. I will tell you that there's great businesses out there that get complaints, and the bottom line is sometimes the expectations are higher than what people expect, or things didn't turn out the way they were supposed to or the way they expected. But the bottom line is that a contractor says, well, no, we have to do this in order to either be in code or for your safety, and that kind of thing. So we want to make sure that, you know, that's why you hire a contractor or a professional in the first place, is because they know these little things that need to happen along the way. Um, review the re, Review previous work from the company. You can kind of see that. Sometimes they'll have it on their websites. Look at photos or videos of what the company's completed. Um, Ask them if they have any recent projects. Ask them if they have references, and then maybe go check some things out in person. A great general contractor, or somebody really that's good in their field, probably shouldn't have any problem. Well, yeah, here's a couple of houses that I've done, or a couple of projects, and sometimes even the customers don't mind sharing that information with other people to make sure that they're getting the right information. When you ask for the references, ask how was the overall experience? Did the contractor communicate with you? What was their quality of work? Did they stick to the estimated budget? Is there anything that you would have done differently along the way? And it would be possible to inspect the contractor's work yourself. Some people may or may not want to do that, but um, it's something you can at least ask a reference. And they talk about this. You always say, get 3 quotes. And then once you do all that, the lowest bid may not be the best. So you want to make sure that you're measuring apples and apples. And the other thing too is, once you decide what you're going to do, get the contract. And when you get the contract, make sure that you understand like timelines. I was introduced to this a couple of years ago, where somebody I was talking to, they were going to build a house, and they signed a contractor, and they've got the contract all ready to go. And the contract said that they would be done in 9 months. Well, what they didn't realize was that the contract didn't start until they broke ground. So the contractor didn't even break ground for about 5 or 6 months.
Wow.
And the contractor says, "No, we're still within our contract because we haven't broke ground. We don't have to finish it for 9 months till after we break ground." So, uh, if you're hiring a contractor to do something, they said, we'll have it done within 7 days. Make sure it's within 7 days of the date you sign the contract, not 7 days from the day they show up at your house, which could be anything. And I know I got relatives down in Louisiana, and the one thing that people do down there is they say, be careful about who you hire in the fall, because a lot of these contractors go hunting, and then they could be in the middle of a job. And I've witnessed this firsthand. Come hunting season, they don't do any work. They could be right in the middle of a project, and they just go, well, I'll be back in a couple months when hunting season's over. And you kind of laugh about it a little bit, and you're going, you know, but if you're the person who's getting the work done, you're like, seriously, yep, nope, seriously, it's hunting season, and that's where I'm going. So
sounds like that's a chance for some of those non-hunters to come in and really pluck off some work during that time. But
right, so I mean, so those are kind of questions you want to ask about when you're doing the contracting. Is there anything that could keep you from keeping this timeline the way it's done? And I know that my parents hired a contractor years and years ago to put an addition on their house, and he wasn't done by the September date, and he ended up not coming for 3 months. Wow. And he came back in January to finish the job, but he didn't come during hunting season. Wasn't going to happen.
That is crazy. Just absolutely crazy. Some tips here on finding a trustworthy and reliable general contractor. I think we've got a couple of more here in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, the bottom line here is use the get a quote tool on BBB. You can go to BBB and you can say, hey, this is the job I want done, and you'll have contractors call you. I know someone who did this recently, and they ended up with 5 contractors calling them for this job. Now they got different companies to pick from, and these are people who want your work, and the only people who will send you responses to that are accredited businesses. So if you have a job to get done, go to bbb.org, click the get a quote button. You can type in what you need to have done, and then there's a little box that says, should we send this to just one contractor, or should we send this to several contractors in the area that you're looking for, whether it's electrical or plumbing or roofing or whatever. And then you can get a couple different quotes that way. And the nice part about that is you don't have to make all the phone calls. You just go online and you use the get a quote, and then the companies will reach out to you. And that could save you a lot of time. And then, of course, the last thing is get everything in writing. Your contract will be a big deal. Make sure to make it a priority. Get a checklist detailed, and even before the contracts are drawn up, get estimates in writing so that there's no question about, hanging when you decide to move forward with a project. This is what it's going to cost me. Just kind of be careful, if you're going to be putting a job out there, there's things that can actually change in pricing along the way, especially with the tariffs that are on right now.
Yeah.
And some of these companies, they didn't realize some of the cost overruns that they were going to get. And I was talking to a guy recently, and they're in a manufacturing industry, and they said that with the tariffs that came out, their company as a whole, it's a big company, but they said it was going to end up costing more than $10 million over the next year because of the tariffs. And so, and the good contractor is they're going to kind of work that stuff into the pricing. This is what the cost is right now based on today's rates. If the rates change, then they'll write something into their contract that says, hey, we could change those. So be really, really careful about that along the way.
Well, great information today from James Price of the Better Business Bureau. Go bbb.org. Trustworthy and reliable general contractor tips, our topic of conversation today. James, we'll see you back here next time.
Thank you, Brian.
James Price joining us here on the show. Don't forget, if you missed part of it, came in a bit late, go back, check out the podcast. It'll be up shortly, WGNSradio.com.
FM 1019, FM 100.5, WGNSradio.com. The Good Neighbor Network.